Yeah. And we have the living legend back on the program, Steve Laffey, stevelaffey.com. Definitely check out the book, Primary Mistake, Fixing America's the Movie. Steve, so much to talk about today, but let's get kicking.
Yeah.
Trump said when he got into office back in 2016, well, I should say 2017, because that's when he stepped into office on January 20th of 2017. Seems like it's years ago. It was, but it seems like it was like 50 years ago he's been in power. Regardless of that, Trump said he was going to win, 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 but we're losing in Iran. We're also seeing the Strait of Hormuz as far as the tax on the ships. That's never going to go away. He just lost the Eugene Carroll appeal. Okay. The ballroom's been blocked at the appeals court. Now it's going to either shift up to the Supreme Court or they're going to just drop it. The economy sucks. The inflation is high, sky high. I just went and got gas today, regular 3.99 and climbing. Okay. So is Trump really a winner? Or is he just truly a loser?
Well, he is losing right now because he's overstepped his bounds and he keeps saying things that are simply not true. If you want to take them one by one, first of all, the economy is still growing at a good clip. And in fact, the Atlanta Fed thinks it's going to grow this quarter at 4 or 5%. Imagine a historic day if the House is lost to Democrats and the Senate's lost to Democrats in an economy that's actually growing. That could be historic. But yes, take a my first of all, Trump and his vice president are acting like socialists and losing. They've taken stakes in 30 companies or so, like Intel and whatever, and now they're trying to tell them what to do, right? With a golden ticket with U.S. Steel. So that's a loser for people like me who are conservative, right? Then you take the ballroom, which clearly nobody read the U.S. Constitution, none of his advisors. Maybe they didn't talk. Here's the problem. They probably told Trump you can't do this without congressional approval. He didn't care, right? He's been talking about this ballroom, and now he wants to go to the Supreme Court and say, please, 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 I need more security there. It has nothing to do with the Constitution. But again, he doesn't care. The Iran war, I went on your show at the top of my head, thought of 7 or 8 things that he could have done. Anybody, a 12-year-old, I said, could have done before you try for regime change in the war in Iran. Now, he said he had regime change, just different people. And by the way, the people in Iran who are taking power are much more hardline and totally busting his chops every single day. And unfortunately, we've lost soldiers. Our bases have been hit, and he's lost. He will not win this war because he doesn't have enough oil in the strategic reserve to keep going forever. He can say whatever he wants, but the polls clearly show this is widely unpopular, and it should be because he didn't explain to the American people why we were doing this, right? He just made it up. And by the way, he's making it up day by day. Even Fox News is turning against him. I witnessed a little clip with Brett Baer. Trump is saying that he can get any ships he wants through the Strait of Hormuz, and then Brett puts up, it used to be 100 a day, now there's 12, 7, and 4, or something like, and he's like, that's not really true, Mr. President. So even Fox News is turning against him. So here's the thing. If you're listening to this show and you still think Donald Trump is like playing 3D chess, if you still think he's an evangelical Christian and he was put there by God as the only person who could, there's something wrong with you. And you need to stop voting. In other words, in my humble opinion, there's something radically wrong with you if you think that, because it's not true. The facts are so. But this thing about the lady named Carol, whatever, Mrs. Carol,
Yeah, Eugene Carroll, you were right.
yeah, he went to the Supreme Court again to say, please help me not pay this. What is he talking about? He lost at every level on a civil case, right? Why was he so here's the visual for the Democrats if they have any brains at all, which they really don't. It would just be a visual of you know the 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 rooms and everything he tore apart from the air and say, this is what Trump made the White House look like. This is what your world looks like. He's a wrecker. He's not a builder. You thought he was a builder of buildings? He wrecks buildings when he can't build. So all this stuff is coming together. His popularity keeps going down. And then he'll suffer impeachment for the next 2 years when Democrats take over. Whether they have enough votes or not, they may have enough. But yeah, he's losing at every single thing. Soldiers are dying. Troops are out overextended their stay in some of our ships. it's just he's just flailing around. And the fact that Republicans still don't stand up and say, enough, no mas, whatever you have to say, right? They will still won't do it, but they will in November.
Well, it's executive order after executive order after
Yeah.
executive order. No bills passed. Zero,
No bill,
zilch,
no bill.
nada.
By the way, did he get the bill passed to increase defense spending by 500 billion? No. I mean, we could go on all day. It gets tiring to do this all day long, right?
Right.
We can just stop reading a list of things he promised and didn't do. But the thing in Iran is sticking out in people's head because they're going to the pump, and here it is. It's August. So look at the races he backed people with. Look at it. Look at Texas, the complete lazy, formerly impeached clown who's running over the incumbent that he got out is likely now to lose to, by the way, a fake Christian on the Democratic side who makes stuff up himself. Two really bad people, it seems like, running for the U.S. Senate in Texas. But that's what's happening to both parties. We're faced with like really bad people. Like governor of Minnesota has to leave. Really bad people. I just not there. They're in office now and they're running for higher office. So if you're really bad, like if you really don't know what you're doing, listen to me carefully. Right now is the time to run. Like if you have tattoos of Nazis on your chest and you're a Democrat, now's the time to get going. If you're a Republican and you've been impeached, get go. If you've been arrested 4 times, get going. Run for city council. You're going to win, it looks like, because people have lost their minds.
Listen, people like you that are intelligent people that have done things with themselves, that are a financial expert, these are the people we need in the country to run it, to be in political office. Unfortunately, people like you
They're
don't
not
get
there.
elected
They're
because
not
you're
there.
talking too much common sense.
No, I can't, I couldn't be elected any. I mean, you start saying things. Here's what we have to do. Whether it's Social Security, the national debt, you could go on about the big giant problems. Why aren't people having children? Public schools suck. You could go on all day about this. And then you have someone like me who has the evidence. Like, I've got 6 kids. Take a look at them, right? Look what they did. Look what they're doing today. I got an 18-year-old getting a PhD in economics. Oh, let's not talk to Laffey about education. He might be too radical. What are you talking about? We could have one person teaching everybody Algebra 1 across the country. Oh, we can't do that. Some union teacher might lose their job, right? This is what goes on. And parents still think you're an idiot if you think this and you're listening to the show. You're an idiot if you think your school's great and every other school sucks. You're an idiot if you think your congressman's great and everybody else sucks. There's something wrong with you. There's something in the water. It's not just the fluoride anymore to talk about. Something else happened to make people this dumb. And what'll happen, by the way, when the crisis hits, like Cranston Ryan, when I was once elected and reelected, because it was a crisis, it was bankrupt. People go, "Where's Laffey?" I'll be too old by then, probably. I won't even care. But they'll say they'll get somebody like me. They'll get someone like Paul Volcker for the Fed. Not joking around stuff like this is what we got to do to survive and prosper. But right now, we're just waiting for Godot. We're waiting for that moment.
I want to ask you this question just to kind of harp on what you were just speaking about with the economy. Yeah, it might be cranking along a little bit better than it was, but people aren't seeing the growth in their
Oh,
paychecks.
no.
And that's the big problem
Yeah.
with Trump. And it's not just all the stuff he's doing in Iran and beyond of that, which is insanity. It's that, again, the growth in the paychecks is near zero.
Yeah. So
And
the
even if
kid,
there is growth, Steve, sorry
yeah,
to interject,
no,
if there is growth in the paychecks, the inflation keeps going
yeah,
up, that it's zero growth.
right. So the K-shaped economy, with like 20% of the people are spending 65% of the money in consumer spending, right? And a lot of people are just they're borrowing money to buy groceries. Their wages are not keeping up. And the president, by the way, denies this. President Trump denies it. So if you're listening and you watch him deny it, again, there's something wrong with you. He thinks things are very affordable. He's still talking about eggs. Last week he started talking about eggs. He said his first day in office, the eggs were up 300%. What was he going to do about it? And egg prices are down. I guess they had more chickens. See, more chickens got born. Like it wasn't a hard problem. He's talking about eggs and everybody's pulling up at the gas station. He doesn't pull up at the gas station. He couldn't give a rat's ass about the gas station, right? So he's not doing that. But a guy with an F-250 trying to make ends meet as a welder who's got 60 miles to drive out here today is like sucking wind, right? And so that's the problem, Mr. President. That's why you're going to get your ass kicked. And by the way, for everybody listening, he wants to get his ass kicked in November. Here's what he'll say, quote, I wasn't on the ballot. If I had been on the ballot, we would have won, end quote. I'm great. That's what he'll say. That's another quote. That's not me, Steve Laffey. I'm not that great. But he'll say that he's great, right? That's what he's doing. And he wants a Democrat to take over the White House in 2028 after he pardons himself and everybody else who made $1 billion, all the clowns who gave him money, what happened at Apple Computer, all these people who, by the way, Apple Computer is not paying the Chinese tariffs, right? Because they spent $1 million. So we've got a total grifter in the White House, number one grifter in the world. You thought Hunter Biden was the grifter of the world. People who are old enough remember Billy Beer and Jimmy Carter's brother as a grifter selling some Billy Beer. That was this. This is like, I'm making $1 billion. Screw you. I sold you some tokens. Screw you. And the people who say it's okay are still saying, yeah, you know what? It was a risky investment. I love President Trump. That's what they're saying. Because there's something wrong with them.
It's not even just that. First of all, Trump's made $2.2 billion so far in the presidency. There's still 2 years left to top that up even higher than 2.2 billion. And it's not just him, that's his whole family. So that's just
everybody. Goes
everybody's
down to
cashing.
youngest child all the way through. And so for people listening who say, oh, Laffey, blah, 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 I'm the most conservative guy on this show. I'm the most conservative guy you're going to find talking about this crap every single day. And you ought to have enough. I'm pro-life. I'm evangelical Christian. I'm a Ronald Reagan defense person. I want NATO to be stronger. I want to have regime change in Iran. I wouldn't have done it unless I knew I could win. Right? So what about me that you don't understand? So if you're a socialist, great, then you love Trump. You want him to take stakes in companies. If you're a grifter and you're grifting someone for $50, you admire Trump for grifting people for $1 billion. Okay, just say it. Just say I'm a grifter too. I'm with Trump. Put it on the back of your car, because the times come for everybody to throw him under the bus. The times come like 1789, but not with any violence, to do away with this crap and bring back the Republican Party that actually does stuff. Yeah. Tries to balance like Newt Gingrich in the 90s, trying to balance the budget, making sure we have enough ships, making sure, go on and on and on about what needs to be done to make us a strong, viable country.
I want to ask you this point to just even put the exclamation point on all this, because now he's doing his Trump Truth Social tweets. And if you pay so much money, you can get inside information on stocks. You know, this is child's play. They were calling them the Biden crime family. Biden looks like Jesus Christ now. And Trump looks like the crime family now. This is supposed to be insider trading. They were going against Nancy Pelosi for this and other Congress people. But now Trump can do it because he's president. I mean, what is going on, Steve?
And let me tell you why he does it. He wants, because he's a narcissist. So when he gets Senator Joe, Senator whoever, right, to agree with things that the senator or the congressman don't agree with, they do not agree with what they're saying, he knows he's got them. That's all he cares about. If he can get you to say, yeah, okay, that's okay, and then find a reason to actually forgive the president, say it's okay that he does these things, it's okay that he violates the Constitution with the buildings that he's tearing down and can't build next to the White House, right? Then that's what he thrives on. He thrived in the private sector by not paying suppliers, getting them to work and not paying them. That's what he thrives on. So if you're okay with that and you're part of the gig, then you thrive on it too. I don't. And it's an embarrassment to the country now. Is anybody not embarrassed? If I hear the 3D chess thing one more time, I'm going to throw up right on the screen. 3D chess. He doesn't know how to play chess at all. He can't play checkers. He's not even high-low Jack, Rhode Island. He's like, go fish.
Oh man, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. Oh, oh man, let's recalibrate and move on. Uh, just keep going on Trump. So Trump's scaling back forces. Hold on, let me recalibrate because that was really good. Trump is scaling back forces in South Korea now, as far as scaling back the exercises because he doesn't want to hurt Kim Jong-un's feelings. That's going to hurt South Korea. And also, again, he doesn't want to hurt Kim Jong-un's feelings because he's just as much of a narcissist and an egomaniac as Kim Jong-un. But it's going to hurt our national security, and it's also going to hurt an ally's national security in South Korea.
So again, if you're listening to the show, Kim Jong-un kills everybody who has a Bible. So if you get caught with a Bible, they don't just kill you, they kill your entire family. If you try to leave the country and you get out, they kill and torture. They actually force abortions on families that someone has done. The stuff they do to people, make them eat grass, all this kind of stuff actually happens every single day. And Trump refers to him year after year as a great leader. He calls Putin a genius. Was he a genius to invade Ukraine? I was on TV talking about how Ukraine would win the war before the war started. Trump said that Ukraine had no cards. They have all the cards. They already won the war. He now has to kind of turn around with Ukraine. Same thing with communist China. By the way, it's communist China, not the free China that's in Taiwan. Communist China has Jimmy Lai still in jail. Communist China has 1 million people in concentration camps. He loves these three countries. He loves them. Hates Canada, our greatest ally up to the north, Canada, right? When Iran took hostages, who hid them? Canada. When we go to any battle, who has people? They don't have a big military. Who shows up? Canada. And Denmark, who he wants to attack. So this stuff has to stop. And I don't know when it's going to stop, but it's going to stop. And it's going to stop like this. And everybody who said they knew him, it'd be like Peter. They'll deny him 35 times.
Again, the problem between 2017 and that administration
Yeah.
between now is there was actually some legitimate people in the
Yeah.
room
Right.
back in Trump 1 that would
Yeah.
call him out or leak something to the press to try to, get this all
Yeah.
pushed back. Now, everybody in the room is a sicko fan, or if they're not a sicko fan, they pretend like they are because they want to
Right.
keep their job. With Vance, with Rubio, with the
Right.
rest of the gang as well. No one has the balls, the cojones, to stand up and fight against
No.
Trump
And they,
because
and
they know he'll just axe them.
they would be such winners if they did. I wrote a longer piece about the Rubio in January. It's over for him. But like Christopher Wright, the Secretary of Energy, is like I just saw him say energy prices are going down. I don't know who he's talking to. He's talking to someone on Fox News. It's like even the people on Fox News now are kind of quizzical. They're like looking around like, what the hell am I doing here? They got to call up the guy who runs the show. What are we doing? This is going to end badly for us, right? The guy who runs Fox. Like they are saying things in the administration. I mean, even the corrupt nature of the mean, really mean Secretary of Commerce. He went to Epstein's house once. By the way, think about it. He lived next door. He went there once. He never saw the guy again. Then the tapes come out where he brings people to Epstein's island with a bunch of nannies. How many nannies do you need? You got three
Yeah,
kids.
he left the nannies in the island.
So it's like these people completely lie to Congress, and I guess the American people don't care. But they will one day. They'll say I never knew the guy. It's sort of like how many people were at if you're from where we're originally from, and you're a Celtics fan, how many people would actually say, or a Red Sox fan, they were there when the Red Sox, did something great. Like 25 times more people would say, I was there a long time ago. I was there when Bob Cousy did whatever, right? But they weren't. This will be the opposite. They'll be like, I never knew the guy. What are you talking about? I never said he was a guy. The guy's a clown. He's a complete clown. By
Well,
the way,
you know this
he won't
because you
make it
went.
through the next 2 years, I don't think. I mean, physically, he's just not making it.
Yeah, what is the issue with that? I see that in a lot of news articles. I've
Yeah.
seen it in the
He looks
Journal,
terrible.
in the
You can see.
Times that, yeah,
Yeah.
that Trump looks like He's in bad shape.
Yeah.
He's going to doctors all the time.
Well, his idea of a health food is like a Big Mac. He eats three a day. It sounds like it just, it's crazy. And he's more portly than he used to be, and he can barely get around. He's got stuff all over his hands. He's eight. By the way, we did it again. Like 80 is too old. I mean, maybe someday they pull Ted Williams' brain out of the cryogenic things going on. They bring him back and he's fine, or whatever happened to these people. Okay, but not right now. But didn't we just go through Biden? Didn't I say at the beginning of his term, he will never, ever be the nominee for re-election? He will not be, and he wasn't. Imagine, by the way, imagine if he was and he won. The guy's like dying of cancer. Like, come on, folks. There's got to be someone in the party under 60 or under 70, let's say. We don't want to see people 35. We got that going on in these places where, like, oh yeah, I'm Sean Duffy's son-in-law. I'm 25. I should be a congressman, and he wins a primary. What have you been doing? I've been painting houses. Oh, that's great. That's a great background. Let's make you the congressman, right? Isn't that what's going on in all these races? Not all, but there are some normal people. There's
Well,
not
do
that.
you see the commercials that it says Trump endorsed? Everybody's Trump endorsed. MAGA, I'm MAGA.
Yeah.
I see it down here in Florida all the time. Everybody that's running the Republican Party is MAGA.
Right. I think people running who aren't endorsed, you just say they're endorsed. What does he care? What do they care? People lie all day long. Just I'm endorsed by, Trump. By the way, find a guy named Joe Trump. Trump endorsed me. Joe Trump, a plumber who lives next door. Have him endorse you. Say I'm endorsed by Trump. This is what's going on in the entire government. Just one big lie, right?
Mhm.
And I mean, the thing about just the biggest one is about Iran. I mean, they obviously Trump was told by anybody with a 12th grade education that it would be very difficult if you weren't prepared to do X, Y, and Z and make the American people know this couldn't be over in a day. Now, he's not willing to do what it takes in Iran, which would mean Carg Island with 2 million barrels of oil minimum, by the way, 4 or 6 could come out. That place gets obliterated tonight. And then he says, now what do you want to do? That could cause real problem for Iran. He won't do that. He won't do it. By the way, if that's the only, forget about all the bombing. If the B-52s were lined up and only took out Carg Island from the very beginning and said, you guys just don't have any oil, do whatever you want. We don't give a crap. But wouldn't it have been better when he was 2017, when we knew this was a problem, that he looked forward in 2017 and told Saudi Arabia, you need 3 pipelines going to the Red Sea, right? If he told Iraq, we got to get the southern, pipeline, the northern, we got to get these things out, right? If indeed Venezuela, again, here's the thing about Trump: there's never any human rights. There's lots of oil in Venezuela. In fact, there's the most amount of oil in any country in the world in Venezuela. It just happens to be crappy oil. If in 2017, in his first term, he had passed laws where people built refineries so that what we produce in this hemisphere stays in this hemisphere, gets refined in this hemisphere, we'd be fine. Anyway, that's
He was supposed to be a deal maker, but he's about dealing for
the
himself.
deal.
That's
The
about it.
big deal was good. The big deal was that he was going to stop the Ukraine Russia war in 24 hours. By the way, his big deal in 2015, when he announced 2015, 2016, April of 2016, was that not only would he balance the budget, he was going to pay off all the debt. The debt is now, he will run up more debt in 8 years, if he lasts 8 years, than any other president by far. More than
And,
Obama, way more.
and he was supposed to build the wall, and Mexico was supposed to
Never
pay
finished the war.
for it.
Right.
We're still waiting for the check from Mexico.
And that's the problem with the whole thing. Look back to any president and say to yourself, through history, no matter how old you are, what do you remember? Let's start with, Eisenhower, the interstate highway
The
system,
highway. Yeah.
right? Then you go to Kennedy and you have a bunch of things. You got a man on the moon speech. You got tax cuts. You got, unfortunately, the Cuban Missile Crisis, which they handled okay, right? Bobby Kennedy helped out and so forth. You go through each president. Trump thinks it should be 3,000 things you're going to remember about him. And that's where he stepped in it. Because if he, in this 4-year term, the only one he has, if he had just done illegal immigration and not sent people to Minnesota to kill innocent people and had nicely trained people, it'd be like, wow, that's pretty good. Most people, like conservatives, like, yeah, we don't want illegal immigration. And he reset the fact that we need some seasonal workers, right? He'd be a hero. He'd have to do anything else. He didn't need any more tax cuts. By the way, he thinks he's talking. Who's he talking to? Yesterday, he said, and I watched this one where people are doing great. I know a guy, one of my friends, which he has none. One of my friends just bought a plane, a jet, because of the depreciation we put in the tax law. Now, the average person over there, he's not buying a plane. And he's not buying a 30-year-old single engine plane, let alone a jet for himself. So he's talking to a whole different crowd of people. And yet these people who are the MAGA people are just so whacked out, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they can't help themselves. And now I guess they'll never change no matter what.
Well, I used to think that Bush was the worst president in my lifetime because of Iraq and Afghanistan, all the people that died, not just to mention our soldiers, but the soldiers, not soldiers, but the humanitarian people that died in that area of the world as well. And obviously the economic crisis. Now I'm starting to teeter, Steve, on the line that Trump is the worst president,
Oh, yeah. Way worse.
especially Trump 2 is the worst presidency in my lifetime. And it's going to beat out Bush because of all the criminality, because of the economic issues and woes of the country. It's just real, true
It's way worse.
insanity
No, it's
of
way.
what's going on.
In fact, let's just go back to say Reagan. Start with Reagan, who was a great president, in my humble opinion. It's gotten worse. I mean, the first term of by the way, the
Bush.
senior Bush, by the way, really nice man. I met him, got to speak with him. Nice. It wasn't as good as Reagan, and he lost. Clinton, by the way, you could say was better than the older Bush because we balanced the budget, whatever. He had his issues, but at least the economy. Then you head into after that Bush, who I was at when the library opened for the second Bush.
Yeah.
I actually had dinner there and sat right behind. He sat literally right there, and he's a great guy. He didn't try to make. Think about it. He didn't do a good job about Iraq. Remember though, there's a different circumstance. I mean, we were attacked. Now he chose the wrong opponent.
Right.
Anyway, whatever.
Sure.
And it took him time to get to speed, which he should. But then it gets worse. Obama's worse than that, in my opinion. And then it gets worse. Trump is worse than that. And then it gets worse. Biden's worse than that. And then this, with no tethers, no like whatever. I say whatever I want. I tweet whatever I want. Someone else take the blame. Vance, go over to Hungary. We need you to kind of bail that situation out. They lose 70-30. Vance, you're in charge of the negotiation. And I'll just tell people if it doesn't go well with Iran, you're to blame, which is what he said. He's not joking. So Vance is out forever. So it's worse. Now, could it get even worse? I don't know. If it gets any worse, we're not going to have a country to talk about.
Well, again, the debt is already there. It's going to keep getting worse and worse. God knows what
And what do people do?
is
You
going to
talked
happen.
about wages. What do people do about the dollar that's eventually and still going to get weaker?
Yeah.
Listen, I own other stuff. But what does someone do making 60 grand over there? How do they take care of the weaker
They're
dollar?
going to be doing that
Yeah, they're
issue
going
that
to
you
lose. They're
alluded to.
losing. The
Steve,
average
they're good.
person is losing. They're just losing. I can't. The average person making under 100 grand is lost. Their kids are on drugs. The public schools for the kids suck. They're losing, losing, losing. You'd rather be living in the 1950s. Everybody says things are much better. They're not. They're worse. But it depends. If this computer gets lighter next year, the world will be told by the media that things are better. If AI can write your term paper for that kid over there, then things are better. They're actually worse. The kid knows nothing. Some AI thing wrote his term paper. So anyway, that's where we are. It's a terrible situation. Not for me,
Yeah,
but
no, I just want to interject lastly before we talk about tariffs and end this. They just came out in the journal and said that the premiums for Obamacare are going to go up even higher next year. So what you're going to have is people that can't afford food, health insurance. They can't afford a house, an apartment. Things are going to get worse with more people on the streets. And people are just worried about nonsensical stuff like the Kardashians. People
yeah,
will still be beating the horn for Trump, maybe not a huge amount, but there'll be these people that are on their ass. Basically, Trump's screwing them right up the asshole every second of the day, and they will still chant Trump for some
There are
reason.
people like that. There are people like that. Like they're just so they're so embedded that they can't change their mind. But listen, it's not good. I mean, statistic after statistic, it's not good for the American people. But we become, I'll leave you with this last thought. In the tariffs, so just for the tariffs, so everybody knows. I told you it was illegal when it happened. It was illegal. The
Yeah.
speech he gave in February when he lost was attacking every member of the Supreme Court and their family. Never happened in the history of America. Then he went to other tariffs that lasted like 6 months, and he had to go to the next tariffs, which will be illegal. And he had to rebate already like $130 billion to large corporations. Whether the small folks got their money, I don't know. But we know the big folks got their money, and that's one of the things keeping the economy going. But it makes the deficit even bigger. And by the way, with all the tariffs, do we have a net balance, a trade surplus? We do not.
Well, this is a man that went bankrupt. What did he go
Yeah,
bankrupt?
we
Three
don't
or
have
four
we don't
times?
you put the tariffs on, we don't have a trade surplus. 70, 80% of these tariffs are paid by consumers in America. And I'm all for the ones on China. I want 300% tariffs eventually on China. I want no trade with China, communist China. But the ones on Canada are just making your F-150 made out of aluminum more expensive. It just is. It just is. It is. Like
Again,
there's no argument.
Steve, you're trusting a man that went bankrupt 3 times in his life
Yeah.
with the
Well,
finances of
he
the
just doesn't
country.
care. He just doesn't care. And when people realize this, again, he's done some good things, starting with illegal immigration. Then he took it to the next level with people who would say to a lady in a car, get out of the car, get out of the blankety blank car. That means that officer for ICE was never trained properly.
Mhm.
I was trained better than that to handle a gun by a retired police, I mean, really a retired police chief. You never swear handling a
Right.
gun. You don't want people to hear you with you know, it's just ridiculous. But anyway, we should stop.
Yeah.
I know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, we'll stop. But Steve, thanks so much for your
yeah,
time today.
no, God bless you.
Um, yeah, let me shut this down. Oh, you gave me a lot of good material, I'll tell you
Put some
that.
clips up.
How the hell do I shut this